Do you know everything you need to know about your RV's black tank? In this video, we're gonna dive deep, everything from flushes to sensor cleaning to keeping smells out of your RV.
And then wait till you see the confrontation we had with this lady.
John, what brings you into therapy today?
Well, Doc, I'm working on a video for black tanks. And so I've been doing tons of research on black tanks. But worse, I've been watching my neighbors and how some of them do it. And now I've got shit for brains, Doc.
Oh, don't worry, John. I diagnosed you with that years ago.
I need a new therapist. Welcome back to the RV Odd Couple. My name is John.
And I'm Mercedes. Long story short, we sold most of our possessions in pursuit of freedom, independence, and adventure.
Because life is so short.
We RV'ers sure do talk a lot about poop, don't we? But with good reason, because poop management is actually a really big deal in RVing.
It's a skill.
So what we decided to do in this video is make it different than any RV black tank video you've seen. John has constructed his own black tank
that we are going to test. And we're going to try to illustrate different things you've got to be careful of. One being pyramiding. Luckily for us, one of the members of the RV Odd Squad has been a tech, an RV tech for years. And he told us some inside information that everyone needs to know about their black tank.
And this is so important because the better we can understand the black tank, how it works and what's in it, well, I guess we know what's in it, but you know what I'm trying to say. The better we can understand it, the less fear there will be around it.
And do you show consideration and realize that after you leave your site, that someone else is going to be coming in right behind you, and then you should take great care to make sure that your shit isn't on the ground?
And then finally, we're going to talk about poop zone etiquette. Number one, what's the poop zone? Are you in the poop zone? How you watch out for your poop zone and your neighbor's poop zone?
Exactly.
This is just a crappy conversation all around.
So the first thing that I was surprised at when I started doing my research online is that a black tank is pretty much looks just like this. It's a very long, narrow black tank. So if these were the floor joists of your RV, right? And that's where the frame is. Put it right on top, babe. They would sit right between the floor joists like this. Now the manufacturer of the black tank suggests that you use two straps to hold this up, right? When this is full with water, that belly, that center part underneath should be supported. But we were told that typically they're not supported. They're spitting these things out fast. And as most of you should know, the RV industry is the least regulated industry in the United States of America. So a lot of them will skip this step. So when you travel with your RV, you want this to be empty. Empty your tank so this is light as possible when you're traveling. As a result of not having straps, what happens is it starts to crack right up here. Okay, and we're going to do some testing on this to show you the problems that can and will arise if you don't do proper maintenance on your tanks. So this is how the manufacturer of the tank sends it to the manufacturer of the RV. The tank is made with ABS or polyethylene. Sometimes it's chemically bonded at this top portion right here, and that's a problem. Or if you're going to replace your tank, try to get a molded tank that is not chemically bonded that can fail. Every single tank that you buy comes with the outlet to the sewer. All right, it's a 3.5-inch outlet with a 4-inch on the exterior. This is how the RV manufacturer gets their tanks. They come undrilled. Each manufacturer is going to drill their holes that they want in certain locations. Well, one will be for the toilet, one will be for the vent, to vent this out the roof. Sometimes they'll come with sensors built into them. So quarter full, half full, 3/4 full. And I would suggest if you get a new RV, always have them put in a flush out. It's just another hole that they drill here, a 1/2-inch hole that they go ahead and they install a flush out in so you can flush this tank out to help keep it clean. The manufacturer of the RV should be putting straps, 2 straps on this to hold this belly up. Right? What happens is the weight of the water, which is hundreds of pounds, bellies this, and all the pressure as you drive pushes down on this, and then this is where you get your cracks on each side. The other issue they have with these is that the installers will use hole saws to drill these holes. So when you use a hole saw, you're going to have a cutout that drops into the tank, and that's a problem because typically they won't take the time to get the piece that they dropped in out, and eventually that one piece that is left over from the drill hole can actually clog your system, and they're very, very difficult to get out once they're installed. The RV manufacturer is done. This is kind of what it looks like. So one hole will be for your toilet, one hole will be for the vent that goes out the roof to vent this. The other thing about black tanks is you never ever want to leave them open. Why? Well, it's called pyramiding, and so if you leave your black tank open, the problem is when you use your toilet and you flush the solids and the fluids down into the toilet, the solids will actually start to build up and pyramid on the bottom, and the fluids will just leak right out this portion right here. Bad idea. Anything that you put in that toilet, that stuff is going to fall down through, and you want to let that mix and start to deteriorate and break down in the tank. So you want to let your tank fill as much as possible to give the tank a little bit of time to do its job in breaking down that solid waste so that it's easier to push out of this sewer vent. The gray waters from both the gray tank and the galley tank are going to be used to clean this out every time we dump the black tank. Now, these sensors are notorious for giving false signals. Mercedes and I have what we call a flush bubble. And what a flush bubble means is that when this tank becomes just about completely full, it actually blocks the vent. And so when we flush our toilet, the water will bubble up a little bit, warning us that our tank is full and it's time to dump it. Nice little hack, because you can't trust these sensors because over time, a lot of buildup and junk gets on these sensors. One of the ways you can fix this is by taking about 5 10-pound bags of ice before you move. Empty your black tank, put the ice down in there, throw a little bit of water in there, and then drive. And that ice just roughs it up and it kind of hacks up and cleans up the solids or the pieces that are stuck on the side of the black tank. As soon as the black tank hits 3/4 full, that's when it's time to close our gray, close our galley, so that we can prepare to dump that black tank. We flush our black tank at least once per month. All right, guys, now let's go over my control panel. So this is where our monitor panel is, and if I go back, you'll see it will give me readings. And if I go to my monitor panel, this will open up and it will tell me that my black tank is 66, my fresh tank is at 33, our galley tank is at 66, and our gray tank is at 66. Mercedes and I last night closed off our gray and our galley so that we can illustrate to you today how we drain our black tank and how we flush our black tank once a month to keep it nice and clean so it's nice and healthy. All right, now let's talk about the toilet. So when you're about to dump your black tank, what you're going to want to do is it's a great time to clean your toilet. You're also going to want to get down inside that hole and clean that as much as you can. It's going to help a little bit with smells. Now this toilet dumps directly into the black tank. With residential toilets, there are P-traps that are built into the toilet itself. With RV toilets, there is no P-trap. So the trap is the water at the bottom of your toilet and the seal that is around that stopper. So if you notice that your toilet is not holding water, that's not a good thing. You need to replace that seal. That keeps vapors from your black tank from coming up into the house when you flush. Another really important thing when it comes to your toilet is most RVs have an extractor fan, which is right here. Now when that extractor fan is on, it's sucking air and putting negative pressure into the bathroom, right? So it takes the smell and it moves it out. You don't want to be having that extractor fan running when you flush your toilet, because as soon as you flush your toilet, that hole is open to the black tank below and the contents are getting sucked up into the bathroom. Sometimes that's where you'll get your odors from. Sometimes people will have a problem with the smell in their RV. We see it all the time. People making videos on why can't I make the smell go away. Because of my research, I found out a few things. Dometic made a toilet that is called the Dometic 300, and it was manufactured improperly. And so what's happening is that Dometic 300 is holding urine inside the tank, and that's the smell, right? So if you have a Dometic 300, you may want to call the manufacturer or Dometic and have them send you a brand new toilet. They will send you a brand new toilet if you have the Dometic 300. Let's talk about the hoses for a little while. This is our second hose. It was suggested to us by the RV Odd Squad that we replace our hose once every 6 months because they do get really nasty and they can leak, and I just don't like this job so much. I'd rather be safe than sorry. Bless you, Sage. And so today is 7 months. We ordered this a month ago, just haven't had time, so I'm going to install a brand new black tank hose today.
Daddy,
Thank you, baby. So as you guys can see, this is where I made my connection to my black pipe. That black pipe right there runs up, and my black tank sits right inside there. My stop is on my water panel inside here. You notice that I have plenty of hand sanitizer. So as you guys can see, this is where my campground sewer service is. And you can see you always want to keep this in a downward slope away from the RV. You'll also notice that I've created my own P-trap right here. Typically, we always keep our gray and galley tanks open. And you just want to make sure that when you make a P-trap, you want the top of this to be well below the bottom of this portion up here. What that means is that this is going to hold water and create a plug so that none of the septic gas can come up and go up into your RV. Sometimes you have to run this pipe 25, we've actually had one we had to run it 27 feet and it was uphill. That's a big problem because what happens is poop needs to go downhill and it's recommended a 1/4 inch per foot. More is better when it comes to this. The faster the rush of water, the more it's going to clean this line out. Sometimes you do have a problem, like in the last park that we were at. It drives me crazy when you pull into a park and you see their sewer service sticking 8 to 10 inches off the ground. Now, what you can do is you can jack your RV up as high as you can to get this as high as you can, but sometimes you just can't do it. Every time I flush my black tank, I would have to push as much gray or galley through this as I can to try to clean it out. But ultimately what you have to do is basically disconnect it, hold it up, and then work that water towards dumping it where that sewer line is. It's a total pain in the ass. It's one of the things that really bums me out when I pull into a park and I see a sewer service or a grade of a site that I can't get my sewer line higher than the park service. So typically you want to have at least 1/4 to 1/2 inch per foot above the line that you're trying to go through. The best way is to have it as steep as an angle as possible, because not only does the angle, when you dump this tank, the pressure of the tank pushing that water out, but when this starts filling up and it's a long way away, it's almost like a suction action. So this is flushing out, this is actually pulling and sucking the air down through this and giving even more of a vacuum action to clean out your black tank.
I actually got footage of him dumping in that park and he did not have a happy face on, and I just felt so bad.
It took me about 10 minutes just to dump it out, and I'm very, I'm a germaphobe guy, so it was really bumming me out. I tried to push as much of the gray and galley into that hose and there was just no way to do it. Let's go flush a black tank. So I'm going to start by flushing my black tank, and then I'm always going to clear that line out with gray and galley. The gray lines, we're going to kind of clean that out. When you're going to flush your system, you want to use a dedicated hose for flushing your black tank. And a Y splitter at your hose is really, really good because I don't have to detach my fresh water. I can use this one here for dedicated black water. This is my water panel here. As you can see, there's my fresh water. There's my black. There's my gray. And my galley is actually over here, right there. And then down below, you will see that it's my tank flush. Okay, so I'm putting in the other side of my dedicated black hose to that flush. Now I'm gonna go back over, I'm gonna turn that water on. Luckily, I'm only about 3/4 full, so I won't have to rush back to pull this, but I'm gonna flush my tank as I'm draining the black tank. Okay, it's gonna put fresh water into it and help squirt out the solid material that's in the tank. It's on. So I'm gonna pop my black. I'm gonna immediately go over to where my clear fitting is. And I wanna see what comes out. Yeah, you won't see a lot of solid in there because Mercedes and I can usually take 5 to 6 days to fill our black tank. So we give it plenty of time for that solid to break down. So you can see it's starting to get lower now. And I've got really good fall to my RV. You always want this going downhill. You run into some pretty serious problems, or it's not big problems, but it's a pain in the ass when you can't get fall because that black water sits in that hose sitting on the ground. Look at the snake back there, babe.
There's a snake back there?
Yeah, look at this.
Oh my gosh.
See him?
Wait, no, that's a stick.
No, that's a snake. See him on the inside?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, check that out.
Wow.
I hope I don't have to snake my system.
Oh, dum-dum. Is that poisonous?
So this one's about done. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna close my black tank. And I'm gonna let it fill back up again with fresh water through my flush. So I'm gonna let that black tank fill. You gotta keep a close eye on this and make sure it does not get over 100%, obviously, because it will come back inside the RV. So I'm just gonna fill it to about 3/4, and then I'll flush it one more time. You're gonna see it push out, wait. Now it's getting clearer. And so you continue to do this until you can get it running pretty clear. Meanwhile, while that's closed, I am gonna dump my gray in my galley. That will clean out that hose.
So is this the gray water? Oh yeah, you can see the soap. So then that's like finally cleaning it out.
And that's super, super clean right there. And then typically some people will have you lift this hose up like this when you're doing that flush in the black tank, so that you, because you don't really need a P-trap when you do that.
Yeah.
I don't bother because we do our tank enough that we do it once a month, so it usually takes only one extra flush to get our black tank just right.
Cool.
Pretty good, huh? That's a
Yeah.
clean black tank right there. And I've just come to habit now that whenever I'm in this area, typically, I will go ahead, no matter what I'm doing, even if I'm not touching the hose, and always wash my hands when I'm done on this side. And then usually once a week I take a Lysol or a Clorox wipe and I just disinfect this whole area. That way it keeps it nice and clean. And this is what we're talking about, we were talking about the poop zone over here. This is what we're talking about. So in this area right here, there's gonna be accidents, you know? So when I flush my tanks once a month is when I drop a biopack in. All right, guys, and these are my brand new hinged bumper cap, designed and created by Ray and Kim. They are members of the RV Odd Squad. We're gonna leave a link below in the description. We are not an affiliate, we make no money. They're just a member of the RV Odd Squad, and we love supporting small, creative companies. One of the things that we've been doing is watching our neighbors, because we decided to start doing this black tank video a couple of months ago, right? And so we start getting ideas, we take down notes, we ask for help for the RV Odd Squad.
As we've been observing our neighbors, we've been noticing some things that have been a little cringe-worthy. So the first is not having gloves. It is possible to handle the black tank hoses in a clean fashion without gloves. But what grosses us out is when we see someone touching it and then they go like this. Or then they go like this.
Or they'll pick their kids up.
Yeah, the cross-contamination is what's so gross. And the flip side, we've seen people have gloves and then they're plugging in their electrical and doing all these other things
touching
with the gloves.
Touching the fresh water,
and
you know?
Still touching themselves with the gloves after they've been handling the poop pipes.
I am actually traveling with this in my back pocket now. Just yesterday, Mercedes and I had a neighbor pull in, start setting up his pipes. No gloves, which is okay, and we're literally sitting at our kitchen table. He's 10 feet away, and we're watching him do this. And he's just doing things that were just totally grossing us out. Like taking the fittings and stuff and wiping them off before he put them into the part service. Touching him, cleaning up the valve, right? And then just like doing something through his hair. It was freaking disgusting. But here's the worst part. I'm a friendly person, so if somebody comes up to me to shake my hand, I will never say, sorry, I just saw you get shit all over you, and I'm not shaking your hand till you wash your hands. I shook the guy's hand.
It was hilarious.
What's funny is Mercedes sitting inside the house and she saw this happen and she just started dying. So when I walked back in the house, she was just laughing and pointing at me.
At least the guy who was shaking John's hand was friendly. Putting the poop hose on the picnic table.
It's just total and complete disrespect.
And what really bothered us is an hour later, a family pulled up, and before we could catch them to tell them what had happened, their kid was sitting at the picnic table.
He was sitting at the picnic table. I couldn't get out there fast enough. And 99% of people wouldn't act like that. That's the first time we saw somebody throw something on the picnic table. But let it be in your mind. When you get to a site, just know there are inconsiderate people out there. You don't know their process of cleaning up when they put their hoses away. If you're going to wear sneakers on that side of your RV where you're connecting your sewer, now we have an extra set of sneakers on that side of the truck that I put on to do that. I take them off before I walk in my house, right? I know that the same people are cross-contaminating the fresh water spout. I know everything they're touching, they're contaminating, right? So I am just very careful in the poop zone. We know that we have to be careful when we get to a park. The Sage is not allowed to play there. We don't set up any of our stuff over there. We typically park as close to that line as we can because it's going to be unusable space for us.
And we'll admit our faults. If you look at one of our very first videos, John was flushing out the hose and it wasn't attached on the bottom.
I didn't know. I had no idea, right? I learned quickly because one of the RV Odd Squad said, hey, John, don't do that. Keep it attached while you're cleaning it out. That's how we do it now. So, and I understand a lot of people don't know these things.
Exactly.
Please, if you're a responsible RVer and you see somebody throwing a poop pipe up on the picnic table, please go and tell them not to do that. You know, maybe you can do it discreetly, but just point out to them that's out of bounds, man. You don't do that when you're RVing.
Well, I'm sorry that we've ruined picnic tables for you forever. And if you enjoyed this video, well, you probably didn't enjoy this video, but if you watch till the end of this video, check out our next video on RV water where we talk about different RV drinking water solutions and John goes through more therapy. See you in the next video.